Hey, Ray and Adelina, I saw the video that we made for USGS and Florence BASCOM. It's been a huge success. I really want to know what went into it. Break it down for me here.
When you think of a rock star scientist, who comes to mind? Einstein? Sir Isaac Newton? Or maybe Marie Curie? But what about someone who was truly a rock star? We're talking about geologist Florence BASCOM, aka the Stone Woman.
Initially, when the client approached us, the biggest goal that they had was they really wanted to make an impression because they had just changed their name to the Florence BASCOM Geoscience Center. And so since they had this big rebrand, they wanted to make it matter. They wanted people to see it, to be excited about them, and they wanted to show a different side of the agency as like fun and exciting. And so that was kind of the goal that they approached us with. And they knew they wanted it to be animated, but they didn't know why, and they didn't know who their audience was. So a big goal for us was to obviously meet their goals. But it was really to help them figure out what this video could do for them.
A pioneer and a woman of many firsts, BASCOM became the first woman ever to earn a PhD from Johns Hopkins University. And in 1896, became the first woman hired at the United States Geological Survey, or USGS.
And how did we end up going with animation? Like, why was animation the right approach in this?
For me, obviously animation was definitely the right approach, given that, the time period that we're talking about is this is a biographical piece about somebody who lived, around the time when video and film didn't really exist to the capacity that it does nowadays. We knew what we had at our disposal, and it's basically very limited to still images, maps that she had worked on, field notes, like a lot of really nice primary sources that we had to work with, and kind of bringing them into the modern day times. That's why you see scenes that have a good mixture of colorful scenes and also these archival type style photos. Audiences nowadays can see and resonate with something that would capture their attention and kind of blend the old with the new, kind of give it a colorful take, a fresh take. We really wanted to emphasize the interesting aspects of what Florence did. I mean, they named a building after her. People should know about her.
The reason why animated really worked for this video was that the audience was going to be so totally different. The typical USGS audiences, other scientists, other scientific agencies, but this video was going to capture the minds of young people, of mothers, of families, of children, of people who are not scientists but are excited to see the women pioneers that have led different movements, in particular in science.
By the way, BASCOM was doing this in a time when women were not even allowed to vote. So her legacy goes well beyond her research and work in the field.
Talk to me about what inspired the concept.
In the middle of our initial kickoff call with the client, this image popped up in my head when he just said, we want this to be memorable. And I immediately thought of the RBG, Notorious RBG. Like all these images of Ruth Bader Ginsburg with like flower crowns and just all this like floral and like beautiful, colorful imagery. What I asked the client was like, do you want this to be like, do you want this to pop or do you want this to blend? And he wanted it to pop. And so I was thinking of like really making Florence, putting her on the same level as some of the other scientists that we know of that are household names. Immediately we were like, we need to elevate her, put her in the same universe as these other scientists that we revere. So we developed a mood board that was like super colorful and bright and bold, and we showed that to the client and he was like, you guys are having a lot of fun out there. Because we knew we weren't going to be able to use photographs that had color, that had that vibrancy. We needed to add that vibrancy.
When we were talking about what we had at our disposal and the fact that we were working with a lot of archival stuff, this commercial from Jimmy Dean Sausage Company came to mind, and they did a really cool treatment where they sort of used color in the backgrounds really nicely, these big, bold, vibrant colors mixed with this old black and white photo of, I guess it's Jimmy Dean himself. And when the Jimmy Dean sausage came into fruition, we saw this photo of Florence riding a horse. She needs to be riding this horse. This horse needs to be walking along, the Appalachian Mountains with the sun in the background. It's just this big world that she's walking through, and she's alone. And just that emphasis of like the pioneer kind of vibe was really something that struck me first, and I knew that I had to get right into it. I was like super excited to show everybody. So
how did you balance a project that's both fun and factual and put our entire biography into a couple of minutes?
Condensing a person's life into 2 minutes is very challenging. So it started off with us really ideating without any rules, just saying, let's just write it all down. And so we did a lot of research. There was a lot of research. The client wanted to really talk about what she did at the USGS in particular, because her life spanned, she did many things with her life. And so we started out with a script that was very factual, that was just in 1896, this happened. And we gave ourselves permission to just do that. And I said, Ray, this is very dry. It's time for us to work on this and punch this up. Are you ready to just blow it up?
Yeah, there was a couple lengthy calls around the script because, like you said, we're trying to condense a person who was the first at doing a lot of what she did in her life. The script was definitely something that we felt that we had to get right. We wanted it to feel fun. We wanted it to feel a little bit light. We wanted it to feel like it was something easy to digest. I think the collaboration element of it was definitely the most important. I don't think that this script would have been as good as it would have been if one of us was just working on this alone. So it really brought the two of us coming together like multiple times to kind of figure it all out and make sure that this thing was feeling right to us.
We wrote a very basic script with kind of key messages and presented that to the client and wanted to make sure that he was, that he felt good about the basic messages that were being communicated. He was on board with that, had some additions, had some comments, and then really just asked us to make it fun, make it something that people can relate to. In that collaboration, what we decided to do was just to just take away kind of all of the normal expectations from a biography. And so instead of starting out by saying, in 1896, Florence Bascom did XYZ, we start out by talking about other scientists. We had a collaborative session with the client where we kind of had an hour-long phone call and went through each script line and got his feedback and figured out what mattered, what didn't matter, how to shorten it. We started with a script that was probably about 3 minutes, and with his help, we focused on the things that the client really cared about, and he was super happy to participate that way, but then also let us kind of add the fun, add the quirkiness that he just trusted us to bring to the video.
Cool, man. So when are we making a biography about Danny Gonzalez? And I just want to let you know I have to be on a horse.